Here's what some people are saying about the Projection Booth podcast.
The Projection Booth is single-handedly the greatest film podcast you could ever listen to or could possibly want.
Top notch. 5 stars. This has quickly become one of my favorite film-related podcasts. Always interesting.
A completely unpretentious yet fully comprehensive look at films from all genres.
The Projection Booth podcast, with new episodes available every week at projectionboothpodcast.com.
You are listening to the In the Mouth of Dorkness podcast. Here are Lisa and Darren.
Welcome to another edition of the ITMOD CHATcast. With me is Lisa Gullickson, wife Dork.
Hello.
And also joining us is Billy Das, the Indie Dork.
Hey, everybody.
Yep, and I'm your host, Darren Smith, the Disco Dork. And welcome to the ITMOD podcast CHATcast. This episode, we have our good friends Justin Benson and Aaron Moorhead returning.
Our first returning guest, guys. High fives all around.
Yay. That's right. They are promoting their newest film, The Endless, which is premiering at the Tribeca Film Festival.
Or has already.
Or has already.
Right.
At the time of this recording, it is not premiered yet, but it's about to.
On the 19th.
That's right.
Of April.
They are the filmmakers behind Resolution, another indie film, and The Great Spring. The movie's not called The Great Spring. The movie's called Spring.
Can you guys tell this is our second take?
The movie is it called The Great Spring? It's called Spring, and it's great.
And it's great.
It's a really good film. It's a film that we've talked about on the podcast. It's one that we actually went to the Alamo in Winchester, and thanks to Andy Gyrison, we got to actually sit down and chat with Aaron and Justin in the projection booth while they were screening their films. And really cool guys, as you will soon hear in the interview. Go back and listen to that episode if you haven't heard it already. Go back and watch those films if you haven't already, to prepare yourself not only for this interview, but for their upcoming film, The Endless. Bill, you want to talk a little bit about what had to go into getting these guys back on our show? Because it wasn't... So I saw these guys at Fantastic Fest, and I felt like a stalker. I didn't want to say this during the interview. I kind of did, but I didn't. And I was like, oh, there's Justin and Aaron, my friends. But I didn't want to go up to them and be like, hey, how's it going, guys? And they'd be like, dude, who are you? And so I didn't think that they remember, but I also wanted to ask him like if they could come back on the show.
Of course.
But I was nervous, so I didn't. So I just followed him around for like 7 days.
Darren, our shrinking violet.
Yeah, so I got like I get clippings of their hair, and like I would brush up against them, and I touched you.
But luckily, Billy Das has no shame.
No.
He'll ask anybody for anything.
Yeah, and I'm pretty sure that it was a less creepy way that you got them back on the show.
Well, you say that, but there were deeds done in exchange with a certain Dave Lawson to make this happen. No, man, I feel the same way about these guys. Like I go out and I'll ask anybody for an interview, and I think it's a cool thing that we get a chance to talk to all these filmmakers. But no shit, Spring is one of my heart movies, and I wrote this thing on Film School Rejects where I just talked about like all the stuff that I see that's going on in that movie that means so much to me personally. And Aaron and Justin and Dave Lawson kind of saw that piece, and I guess everybody likes to have somebody say nice things about them. I don't know. I felt like it was good, but
you say nice things so good, Billy. Don't be so modest.
But so they saw it, and I wound up kind of chatting with them, and that sort of conversation is how I got to know Dave Lawson, and then through him, Travis Stevens at Snowfort Pictures,
which was a great interview, and you guys should go back and listen to that.
Yeah, I actually think it's one of the better interviews that we've done, and they say a lot of really interesting stuff. And so we kind of chat back and forth, and as that relationship goes on, I told him very not subtly that I was willing to do things to see The Endless when it came out. And he was very receptive to that sort of adoration and deal making and exchange. And so that's kind of how it came together. Is he helped set that up for us and put us in touch with all the right people. And I don't want to brag, but like this shit is exclusive. I'm pretty sure we're the first interview with Justin and Aaron for The Endless, and I think we might be some of the first people in the United States to see this movie. So. Not even a humble brag. Like, yep, this is where I wanted to be at. Life is good.
Yeah.
Victories have been had.
Pretty awesome, and I appreciate it. So thank you, Billy. Thank you, Justin. Thank you, David. Thank you, Aaron. Thank you, everyone involved with getting us to this point. So, ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, here are our good friends, Justin and Aaron.
Best friends forever. We're holding hands right now.
No takebacks. All right, so we're here with Justin Benson and Aaron Moorhead, whose new film, The Endless, has premiered. I think timeline-wise, has premiered. We're recording this in advance. I'm showing you behind the scenes. This is awkward. Has premiered on Friday at Tribeca to, I assume, a standing ovation. Their previous works include Spring, which is this freaking beautiful monster romance movie, which if you haven't seen it, you need to go check it out right now. And then their first movie, Resolution, which is really about not doing drugs, kids, and how you need to look out for your friends. So if you haven't seen these, check them out. But otherwise, guys, welcome along. We're really excited to have you here to talk about The Endless.
It's a pleasure.
Nice. All right, Lisa, we were talking questions before the start of the interview, and I don't want to hype this one too much, but I think it's my favorite.
Oh, God. Thanks, Billy. Jesus. Well, I am a huge fan of Spring. I think it's like this beautiful fairy tale, and one of the extras on the DVD was this adorable behind-the-scenes vignette of your cast and crew. And I was just floored by how fun-loving and sexy your crew was. And I was wondering if the crew of The Endless is equally or more sexy, and if we'll get to see them on the DVD.
Well, you'll definitely see them on the DVD. I think Aaron and I would both say the crew on The Endless is equally sexy. One thing they have going against them, though, is they're not Italian.
Oh,
so
yeah.
There is that.
You make an excellent
so we
point.
think that maybe general audiences won't find them quite as sexy just due to the accent, general vibe.
I should have
not having been raised on coffee and cigarettes and romance.
Yeah. But they're a good-looking group.
Yeah.
They're great behind-the-scenes documentary.
Good.
We had to stay with them. So the place where The Endless takes place was also like we would often wrap the camera and then just take 5 steps forward and walk into our bunks. So we stayed right there at the camp, and so the fact that we had to be right next to them at all times, literally in bunk beds with them, was not terrible. So yeah.
Well, that's
I think that's
we were kind of talking before, and we were saying, Apulia is such a beautiful place in Italy, and you guys, you go out, you make this movie Spring, and it's in Italy. It's beautiful, beautiful, beautiful place. I want to go and live there, kind of beautiful. And then you decide to follow that up with a movie in the desert.
Very brown film.
So what was?
Didn't you know that the director of Under the Tuscan Sun then went and made Spawn?
Oh.
I don't know.
Say what? IMDb real quick.
I think one thing was we had one project in particular in development, and then a couple of others that would be loosely defined as westerns.
Mm-hmm.
So I think we were leaning towards this aesthetic, and then other just practicalities too, where it was we have this place that's very uniquely gorgeous in its own way, this dehydrated environment that we have access to. You can get so much more done in indie film if you write for a location you have access to.
So when you guys were putting the endless together, have you already scouted this location and now you know, like, oh, we've got these cabins out here and we're gonna set it all up? Because I mean, you know, like you write scenes that are specific to working around a lake, working around the cabins, hiking trails. Like, I mean, is all of this in your boobs? Fuck. Is all of this in your head when you're writing the movie, or do you have the outline of the movie all set up and then you scout for locations and then you really start to put details to it?
Well, the good news is the location is a very similar location to where we shot Resolution. Mm-hmm. So yes, we did Resolution, our first movie, and we did scout all around that area. And in fact, the place the place where we stayed for Resolution is actually the camp that we shot The Endless at.
Oh, no shit.
So, long answer to yes, definitely. We knew pretty much every location before we had it.
It was, in writing it, I was writing from memory of what a lot of the locations were. And some of them were places I hadn't been since I was a little kid. So, Aaron and I went on this location scout one day, and our location scout took one day. Everything went perfect. But we went and checked out, and I was like, oh, thank God, like, all these places actually exist, and it wasn't just inside my head. And honestly, like, the people who run them are somewhat naive to what they can charge a film production.
Yeah, we'll let you film on that lake for $300, and we're like, yeah, okay.
We'll throw in all the boats.
Yeah, we'll just throw in the boat.
Feed you.
We'll give you back massages at the end of your hard day.
You know, that's because we were talking. We talked with Jamie Dagg last night about his movie Sweet Virginia is coming to Tribeca as well. And that was one of the things that he said about filming in British Columbia was that, like, this small town, like these people, it was still a novelty kind of for, like, filming a movie in this location, and that, like, the mayor showed up and was like, hey, what do you guys need? And they kind of, like, were like, gave them police resources to, like, tape off stuff for scenes in the movie and shit like that. Like, was that your, what's that experience like for you guys when you're going down to a small town? Is that similar for you? I mean, like, I know that they're kind of giving you deals on things, but, like, is it genial?
Yeah, I think it can be, like, broken down like this. So when you shoot in Los Angeles, you literally can't shoot anything without people asking for permits and want to charge you a gazillion billion dollars, and because they're sick of it. Because everyone's always trying to shoot everything in LA.
Yeah.
When you shoot outside of LA, it ranges from super nice, they do so many nice things for you, it's almost uncomfortable, to they come to set, probably have a gun, and they're like, get off my property.
Yeah. In Italy, we also had we had lunch with the mayor one random day. He was just so happy. He's like, I told the Pope the other day. Literally, he's like, I told the Pope about the movie. And I was like so charmed. And then cut to, you know, we're halfway through filming a scene, and someone that looks like Duck Dynasty shows up to set and is like, get the fuck out of here.
Yeah.
Okay, cool, guys, no problem. We'll go, whatever. It's all good. Do you stand your ground when somebody comes and tells you to get the fuck out? Or do you just go, no problem, we'll pack up?
No, you beg and negotiate, and you try to get like 20 more minutes, and you just try, and then the scene is all shot in one shot all of a sudden.
Well, this Endless being your third film, you guys definitely have this distinctive voice that comes through all of your films, and I think a lot of that comes from the scrappiness of being an indie film and problem solving on the spot and story developing around locations. How do you see that being adjusted to a larger scale, maybe a studio film, or do you think you guys are just going to be indie bros forever?
I mean, that's always the biggest question, right? For kind of indie filmmakers that have a distinctive voice is, can you make that translate into a bigger production? And the answer is probably baby steps, kind of. You know, like don't go from Resolution to Godzilla. Try to go like the Coen Brothers route. Right. You know, where take steps that people are comfortable with you still having creative control over the movie. Yeah, I think that's it. I guess we'll tell you
after you get that $100 million check to make a movie, what it's like. Yeah.
Is there an aspiration to make a tentpole movie? Yeah, but it's just got to be, it's got to be The Dark Knight, and it can't be, something that's just kind of like washed of all opinion.
That's, I was having a conversation with somebody the other day where, like, you look at all these kind of indie filmmakers who make sort of like one very brilliant movie, and then a studio sweeps in, and they make it for maybe $5 million or $1 million or something. And then a studio says, oh shit, that looks really cool. I want them to do our next thing. And then they give them $100 million to make a movie. And like, I think that you can have talent and knowledge and skill sets as a filmmaker, and you can understand how to put a movie together and how to tell a story and how to use the equipment that you have access to and all that sort of thing. Like, there's a lot of technical skills that make it so that you can make a movie. But like, just the sheer prospect of being responsible for spending $100 million in the course of a film production, is that not terrifyingly daunting to consider, or is it intoxicating to consider?
I thought it used to be something that I was like, I don't even know where that money would go. But now, after we've kind of done everything ourselves so much, and we find out what other people charge for the same things, I know exactly. I can't believe that $100 million movies don't cost $4 billion. Like that, I absolutely would know how to spend $100 million. I don't want to. The fiscally responsible person inside of me much prefers that we keep our budgets low and margins high so that we get to make another movie after that.
Right.
But yes. Could I spend $100 million? Yeah, for sure.
Well, I selfishly want you guys to stay small for a while because I feel you really cultivating this fan base where, I've seen Resolution, and then I saw Spring, and then I saw The Endless, and I'm so stoked, and I become fans of you guys, of Justin and Aaron, and wanting to see your films and see the kinds of films that you make. So I like that you guys are very protective of your intellectual property, and you're making sure that it's your voice that's coming through, so that you'll get that Coen Brothers style fan base. One thing that I love about your films is that they all center around like these mysteries, and I'm wondering where you start when it comes to weaving this lore. Because I see it as like when I watch your films or films with mysteries, like you see the symptoms of what the mystery is, and then when you encounter the diagnosis, you're like, what? Your mind is blown. And I was wondering if you start with what the mystery is, or do you start on the fringes?
That's a good question. I think in almost every case, it starts on what the mystery is, and then you're trying to develop mechanics in the story that explain the mystery in an elegant way that doesn't kind of like clunk into there. And usually these are new things that people haven't quite seen before,
right.
And they require a lot of explanation. And the bad way to do that is to, just clunk it in, all the information at one time. But if it's a mystery, you can dole it out slowly, giving pieces of the mystery, and just get your hooks into people and pull them along until you get to that final answer, and then that final answer can really define the third act in a really interesting way.
Yeah, when we were first making Resolution, we even didn't quite know how to categorize it genre-wise, and we still don't, and we don't really care. But there was this thing where people, it's like, oh, do we tell people it's a horror movie? Because it's like, that's not quite right. Do we tell people it's a character drama? It's not quite right. And then one day Justin comes over, he's like, I got it. It's a mystery. And I'm like, oh my God, yeah, that's exactly it. And that's almost the same thing with Spring, that you could call it that almost before you call it horror or romance. Because there's just this thing going on that you don't quite understand that all will be revealed later in the film. Same with The Endless. And it seems like that's kind of the general thrust of everything that we do, is that it's that the way that we keep ourselves intrigued with the idea is by building it as a mystery and having layers come off.
Well, like my OCD side of my personality loves the fact that you guys create rules and structure, and then you follow those rules. You're never pulling out something. Everything fits together perfectly. And I'm just wondering, are you two also obsessed with these rules?
I don't know. Aaron's such a rule breaker. I never really thought about it. Are we obsessed with rules? Yeah,
well, I mean, I think that it's you create.
These two boys are obsessed with rules. When I think about, if you're talking about the rules specific to a mythology, I don't know. I think that we just get so excited and caught up with creating these sort of new mythologies that it's fun to make it sort of airtight and try to make it all make sense. And if you want to give that thrill of scaring someone, and it's kind of a genre sci-fi thing, that if you can make yourself believe in it, then it's so much more thrilling. Hopefully the audience will get that too. And then in terms of like the rules of like storytelling and things like that, it's like we know them, but if you follow the rules too closely of like things like screenwriting, you will oftentimes telegraph to your audience what's coming next.
Yep.
And you won't deliver the unexpected because they know the structure. Most of us who have seen 10 movies know the structure. At least we can feel it, even if we can't talk about it. So if you follow those sort of mechanical rules of storytelling and screenwriting and filmmaking, you'll often deliver something that you didn't really deliver to the unexpected people. They kind of knew it was coming.
So that is one of the things that you guys do really well that I love about your work is that you are creating these new things. Like, you're not making a vampire movie or a werewolf movie or a rom-com. Like it is hard to categorize what you guys are doing, but I don't find that what you're doing is without purpose or undirected or sort of like I'm just going to throw some shit together so that it's different. Like I don't feel like you're making different movies just to be different or strange. You're exploring some pretty heavy themes in the things that you're doing. I mean, like Resolution and Spring and honestly The Endless, they're about love and life and death and how we change as people and where we go and answering the question to life. What is the point? How much of that is stuff that you're cognizant of while you're trying to work on what's next? Is that what you want to do? Is you want to tell stories about life and death and love, and you find interesting ways to do it, or are you just looking to put out new shit into the world?
When we got after Resolution, we got started getting sent scripts by reps, and they were never remotely good. They were always the worst things you've ever read. And that's categorically true. Everybody believes that. Everyone's just like, yeah, every script basically sucks. And the thing that they were all missing besides, often they were missing a whole bunch of things, but the thing that was like an immediate no-go was something that the word's kind of pretentious sounding, but it's the best way to describe it, which is resonance, which is like, when the movie's over and you close the page, you're still thinking about it. You still like it. You're still like, there's still something working within you on it. Hopefully in your mind and in your heart, but one or the other is even fine. And so nothing had any kind of resonance. So then going back to your question, I think that our movies aren't consciously like, okay, let's tell a story about death. It's not like that. It's more like, hey, here's a cool idea, and how do we make ourselves care about it? And those things are always more in the fringes. Because I was actually taught in film school that you should write your script starting from theme, and then kind of like adhere to your theme. And now that I've started working with Justin, I actually disagree with that. I think you write from character, and theme comes out of it. And that's the thing is like, yeah, the theme will come out of it of like life, death, what does it all mean, that sort of thing. But ultimately, it's just those are the things that keep us interested in our own movie.
I think it's interesting that thus far each of your films has been about couples. Like, it's always a pair of characters. So, like, Resolution is about friend love, Spring is about romantic love, and then The Endless is about sibling love. And I wonder why you keep going back to this couples kind of formula. Is just 2 the magic number when it comes to characters and conflict?
So you broke up a little bit right there.
Oh, no. It was a great question. How dare it break up with me? I was just wondering how come all of your films center around two people?
Oh, at first it was just because I wanted to write a story about friendship, and then later it was wanting to write a story about romance, and I had material in my head about those things. With The Endless, it was because, well, for one, I really did want to write. I had material in my head to write a story about brotherhood, and I pitched it to Aaron, and Aaron thought it was a really good idea. He wanted to tell a story about brotherhood and siblings as well. But also it was sort of a reaction to, we had a script that didn't get made that was about like 6 people and their relationship, and it's so hard. It's screen time. It's so hard to get to know in 90 to 120 minutes. More than 2 people. Get them to know them very well. You care so much that in the end of the movie, hopefully, people, they're really impacted by it, and they really wanted things to work out for these 2. That's hard to do with 6 people. Really hard. They take so long.
The alternative, basically what that is if you break it down in like really dumb terms, let's say you have 120 minutes. That's 60 minutes with one, 60 minutes with the other. And when you have 6 people, I mean, you have 10 minutes. Nope, that's not right. 12 minutes per person. And so they have to start speaking in like broad platitudes and start saying exactly how they feel out loud, because you don't have enough time to get into the nuance of it. You don't have enough pages. You really just don't. And so there are ways to do it. Magnolia is an amazing movie. There's tons and tons of wonderful ensemble movies. But the characters are often much broader, larger than life kinds of characters, and that's the way that it works. And that's just not the kind of people that we are. Now, that said, will we do an ensemble movie someday? Sure. And we'll work really hard at it. But this is something that just comes very naturally.
In the Endless, it's really interesting because there's a lot that is not said among the camp members, particularly Anna, particularly Tim, even Hal. But a lot of the characters, we've gotten feedback that people do get the feeling that there's a really big river running under what you see on screen in those characters, and we were shooting for that, but I think we maximized what we could get out of having that many characters in this scenario, where it's like people feel there's a lot there, but there isn't enough time for them to get into expressing all that and hearing all their backstories and how they ended up there. All of that, we could work on it, talking to them, and hope. And again, it's a weird thing. It's like audiences do feel it. We think we accomplished that, but there wasn't enough time to get really into it. Even when you look at something like Breaking Bad, the relationship that lands for most viewers is Walt and Jesse. And in 5 seasons, that's still like the one, and all the rest of them are done successfully. But I mean, that relationship lands better than the one between him and his wife, between him and his son. But even, I guess the point is, even after 5 seasons, there's still that pair that lands really well. That I feel like that's the one people remember.
Yeah, there's like there's a scene in The Endless where everybody is sort of sitting around a campfire, and there's this gorgeous scene of Tim, who's like he's sitting there, he's looking at this half full glass of Hefeweizen, just like he's not saying anything, and the camera only lingers on him for maybe like 20 seconds or something, but you can see him having this conversation in his brain about like, is this glass half full or is it half empty? Is this all worth it? And then he chucks the contents of the glass away, like just out of frustration that he can't answer the question in his head. But like, I feel like there are a lot of those moments going on in the course of the movie. Are you guys looking to craft those in, or is that something that the actors bring organically to the table when you're filming?
It's both. So Lou Temple plays Tim, and Tim is obviously probably one of the more enigmatic characters, because I think he has 4 lines, and they're all about beer, and otherwise weird. But he's everywhere, and he's like, there's just something going on with him. And, we're trying to convince Lou to do this tiny little part, or what seemed on the page to be a tiny part, but now everybody kind of like gravitates towards him. And he was interested, but he wanted to make sure that this part had the kind of depth that we were promising. So we actually ended up talking to Lou over the course of 2 long conversations, probably a total of like 6 hours before he said yes. Just kind of talking to him about what the movie was to us and who Tim was and where he comes from in the last 100 years of Camp Arcadia history and that sort of thing. And so, when you talk about that moment, like, yes, him looking at his beer in the firelight is in the script. Him throwing his beer out in disgust is not.
Nice.
And it was just stuff like that, where he knew what was going through Tim's mind extraordinarily well, to the point that we got some wonderful little moments with him. But, a lot of like who Tim is was part of the plan as well.
Mm-hmm. Another good example is Anna at the struggle. There's a few close-ups of her, Anna played by Callie Hernandez. There's a few close-ups of her giving Hal this really strange look that's really loaded with meaning. And that look isn't in the script, but what it is we spent a day or two just talking to Callie about who Anna is and what her dynamic is. Everyone in the camp, what her relationship past is with all of these people, and she did that, and she came up with that on set. Yeah, very quickly on a very cold, rush night.
And actually, what's really crazy about that scene is we didn't know that scene had anything to do with Aaron and Anna or Anna and Hal until our editor put her in it, because we got a single take of a close up of her. That was it, like one take, because she has one line or something like that. So we just grabbed her reaction through the whole thing, and she like turned that scene into like something that was originally not going to have anything to do with her at all, and now it's like all about like her hopes and dreams for like what's going on at this weird situation.
I loved her character. I mean, she really engaged me all the way through the movie. I always got the sense that she was up to something, and I don't want to give too much away, but there's definitely like she's got a sexy, creepy vibe that I am into. So
she's somewhere between Lady Macbeth and the mom in Back to the Future.
Yes.
That is so perfect.
I'm writing that down. I'm sorry. That's going in a note here.
So when Justin was kicking around the story about brothers, was it always the plan that you guys would play these brothers?
Yeah, because originally this whole project was cooked up by Aaron and I have a lot of projects in development after spring. And we're like, we're filmmakers, we're not meeting takers. Let's just go make something like we always do. And so, but it was also because we were in this phase of like just waiting on a lot of things, we wanted to be self-reliant. So the plan was we were going to, each put in X amount of money from our bank accounts, and we'd act in it, shoot it, and edit it, and do all this stuff. It was really, really, really scrappy. You just pull a Shane Carruth kind of thing. Like, yeah. And then we went and spoke to our producer, David Lawson, who you know about this, and he was like, fuck you.
He's such a good producer. I love his creative input.
It's not romantic. It's not anything. Let's go to investors and do this as a real movie and pay the crew and pay me, most notably, and all this stuff. So we ended up doing that. But in that whole process, it was like, we both have dramatic acting backgrounds enough. We'd rehearsed the hell out of it. Dave Lawson and Mark kind of watched us do a few scenes. And ultimately, it's something that it worked, and we had a desire to do it, and it worked out that way. But originally, yes, we were always talking about it. It was written for us, and it was written for us in such a way that it would have been kind of hard to ask actors to do it. Yeah. To be like, hey, we're going to shave your head weird. You're going to jump into a lake. Well, I am not. But and they would have been all right with that. But I think like asking him to play someone that was written to be me or you, that would be fucking weird. Yeah. Like, no, do it how I'm doing it right now.
So how was it directing yourselves? Did it create an ease because you're cutting out the middleman, not having an actor interpret what you want, or was it tough to get perspective on your own performance?
It actually it kind of evens out. It's easier in that you have to communicate less to someone else because you have to. There's a lot of little questions that need to be answered when you're directing an actor who's going to be in the whole movie. So that's gone. You know all those answers, and that gets replaced with rehearsal time and with. I mean, there are some kind of headaches of being in front of the camera when you need to know what's happening holistically. You need to see what's happening on monitor, and it does slow you down like a little bit, but it wasn't. It's scary. The prospect of doing it, thinking about doing it, is scary, and then you do it, and it's like, oh, it's. It's all filmmaking. Everything's hard, but this didn't make it particularly hard.
Yeah. I mean, there was only like one moment where that part of it became overwhelming. For the most part, it was instead of standing behind the monitor, you just happen to stand somewhere else. But when you've been shooting for long enough, you know what the image looks like. As long as it's in, someone will tell you if it's out of focus or something. But trying to like. When it's 4 a.m. on day 16 and you're trying to light the scene, but the monitor is 90 degrees to your right. So if you look to your right, you just see the side of your own face. And if you look, and there's lights everywhere, and there's lights everywhere. So you try to look into the monitor, but actually there's just a light pointing into your face. And then you look back towards the camera and there's another light pointing towards your face. And you're just like, I can't see anything. I don't know what's going on, But that was like one moment, and then it was like, oh, hey, guys, move the monitor really quick. And then it's like, okay, all right, we're fine.
So that's the scrappy indie filmmaking problem solving I was talking about. Solving problems.
Moving the monitor. Yeah, super scrappy.
What was
that? It was actually really nice. Because the other thing that's kind of easy to forget when you see that Justin and I are in the movie is we're only actually on camera at the same time, very, very little. And we're in the same scene, only and we're actually in the same scene at the same time, maybe like a third of the time. So then the other third of the time is one or the other, and we direct each other, which is no problem. And then there's the other third of the time after that where we're not even on camera, and that's then we just work with the actors, like normal.
Is that so? When you guys are both in the scene, is it Dave Lawson? Because I saw he gets a first AD credit on the movie. Is he directing the scenes when you guys are both engaged in acting?
Yeah, I mean, well, it's funny. When you ask Dave about having both Aaron and I on camera at the same time, and people ask me, like, "Hey, what was it like acting?" Aaron and I like, "Oh, super easy." And Dave's just like mortified, and he's like, "It was horrible. I had to look at the monitor, and I had to direct them sometimes." So, yeah, the answer is yes. He did have to. Dave Lawson had to put on his director hat the first time ever. Sometimes, and he hated it.
And sometimes he's also smiling Dave. So sometimes he's also in the scene, in the background, calling action and then going silent.
Well, I'm sure he was really bogged down with that character work for Smiling Dave, trying to channel that.
Smiling Dave has a deep, dark past.
Yeah, it sounds like it from some of the things that they said he got up to outside of Camp Arcadia. Holy shit, poor Dave. Poor sad Dave.
No. He's very happy. That's why he's smiling.
Is there some deeper meaning behind your characters being named Justin and Aaron? Or was it it's just easier?
No. It's actually, it's kind of it's a concern in that, well, okay. So there's obviously some connection between this movie and other stuff we've done where it's weird because it's like, it takes place in the same world of other stuff we've done, and you don't want to negate other things you've done or create inconsistencies. Chances that someone watching this movie has seen the other movies, it's actually pretty unlikely. But that said, getting it wrong feels like sacrilege too. It feels like, you just done an inaccuracy and there's a continuity problem that could have so easily not have occurred. So this movie snaps together with the world of our other movies like perfectly, like a puzzle piece. And part of that required that we kept the same names as the characters from Resolution, which were Justin and Aaron, which were said in the film, which at the time was done out of pure laziness because no one knew who the hell we were. No one. We were making a movie with 20,000. And it didn't matter. And now it's like people still don't know who we are, but enough. And movies that we make typically get distribution, and our names are all over them. And now we have these character names that are same as the filmmakers. So it's a trade-off. It's a little bit of a concern that hopefully people don't go into it thinking that this is a highly autobiographical work. Where it's like
I was going to say, how is your cult recovery going? Do you guys feel like you've successfully escaped it? Are you well? Are you in a safe space?
I actually just realized that people watching Resolution, for the first time ever, people watching Resolution, watching the scene with us when we say this is Justin, this is there. Because when we were shooting it, we were like, literally no one watching this except for my mom will know that that's us. So like now I'm realizing like some people that have like that would be a fan of The Endless now that we're in it might see that scene by the river and be like, those people. Like that's just the directors in the movie, Hopefully people don't think it's a wink, wink, bad meta joke. But it is what it is. I'm happy that there's continuity.
See, I told you, you're obsessed with rules. You like to set up those rules. You don't want to break them once you set them.
That's a good point. Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know. Like the meta-ness of it is like it is interesting. I know that you guys don't want it to come across as like a wink, wink, nudge, nudge sort of meta about like what is it like to be Justin Benson and Aaron Moorhead. And I don't really think of it like that in that terms of meta sense. But because of the way that you create your characters, because of the way that you create your movies, it feels so essentially personal to what it is that you're doing that, I was not that surprised to learn that the characters in The Endless are like named after yourselves. It just kind of makes sense to me because this is so personal to you. Like, do you like, is that part, like, I recognize in the Resolution, like, you're like, well, fuck it. We'll just call ourselves Justin and Aaron. It's easier. It's done. We'll do it. It's live. Let's go. Like, whatever. That's cool. But like, I feel like you don't have to make that choice when you come to The Endless. Like, is this personal to you? Is this intrinsically personal to you and you want to capture some of that? Or are you just following rules?
Well, I think, okay, so I would steer away from, I'd steer away from the word meta just because it means something different from what I'm about to say.
Yeah, sure,
but
no
yes,
problem.
The movie is extraordinarily personal. That's very, very true, especially when it comes to, and the movie is about, like, history is going to repeat itself unless you basically grow some balls and take some action and do things differently. Otherwise, you're just kind of doomed to repeat past mistakes. That's just how history is. That's how humans are, whatever. And, here's a movie that exists in the same universe as some of our other movies. And so when we're talking about repeating history, there it is, right there on the table, And we recognize that. And then also it's like, and then you can also talk about, like, how we were feeling when we wanted to make this movie, which is like, well, are we going to make a movie or are we just going to sit around? It's like, well, we just got to go do something. And that's the same idea. It's like take action or you're just going to be sitting around doing nothing. So yeah, like in that sense, it's very personal because like the theme, like what it's about reflects the sentiment that we always feel. It's like kind of a vaguely rebellious sentiment, but also kind of a similar sentiment to moss doesn't grow on a rolling stone. So in that way, I think that the film is extraordinarily personal. That part of the theme of the film.
Well, I mean, like,
That said,
go ahead.
That said, the names are still an attempt, just not the break.
Oh, yeah, the names have nothing to do with it.
Yeah. All right, I'm tracking. I don't know, like it's there's a couple of scenes of you guys in a car together at different parts of the movie, but like your car scenes, I don't know, man, like I just feel like you guys, like you can feel that closeness and that personal relationship and the interaction that you kind of bring to it. Like,
but I feel like that's a sibling thing. Like you guys really did capture siblings. Do you guys have siblings? I guess so. I'm guessing.
That's cool. That's really cool. You know what's funny is every movie we made, the two central characters have always been described as having good chemistry.
Mm-hmm.
And in the case of Vinny and Pete in Resolution, that was something that we identified in doing these really low budget commercials with them, and just thought that it would work, and it did, and it works great. And still and it's gotten better and better and better to the point where we're 3 movies in and we put them in one scene, and everyone's like, "That's the best scene." And then with Lou and Nadia in Spring, people always say how great their chemistry was.
Yeah.
And then we got the same feedback on this movie, and I still don't quite understand what chemistry is but I know that some of it comes out of rehearsal. There also is like a real intangible thing, probably. But I think there is something in the writing process, and there is something in the rehearsal process, and then I guess there's probably some other X factor thing that we've just gotten really lucky and landed on it a few times.
Well,
I will say that thing, whatever that mysterious thing is, equal chemistry, I don't think it exists without the writing and the rehearsal. But it's interesting.
Well, love and relationship takes
really
work. It doesn't just show up. Like, yeah, I kind of get that. I liked how you said that though. Like, chemistry is in rehearsal. Like, damn, dude, I kind of want to give you a hug a little bit.
Like that, yeah, like that car scene. We rehearsed the hell out of that. And by the way, not only did we rehearse it, we were in a technical situation where it was like we just literally strapped the cameras of the car and went driving around for 30 minutes doing it over and over. So then it got rehearsed in the shot over and over and over to the point where it has an extreme naturalism. It's been done 100 times literally.
That's so funny because it does feel improvised. Like for me, like when I see chemistry on the screen, I always consider chemistry the thing that takes it from being a fake thing to a real thing. And so to me, your siblinghood felt extremely like it felt real to me. I love the quote. You start the film with 2 quotes, but I particularly like the second quote that is attributed to Anonymous. And the quote is, for our listeners, friends tell each other how they feel with relative frequency. Siblings wait for a more convenient time like their deathbeds. As a person with siblings, like, I don't think a more true thing has said. In fact, I practically ruined a family vacation over family secrets like 2 summers ago. I hope my sister is listening. Oh my God, it was awful. But so like how, because I know that you guys are friends, but you guys are also, work partners. So do you find yourselves editing each other like siblings might edit each other for the sake of your work or for the sake of your feelings? Or are you guys 100% frank with each other all of the time?
Oh, yeah. I mean, well, actually, this kind of combines this question and the last question. But, like, I know that a lot of the dialogue of, like, Aaron's constant choice to, like, redefine what something means, or whatever that is comes from me and Dave bickering and Justin listening to it and hating it. But me and Dave, we bicker because it's fun. Like, neither of us are actually upset at each other. We just think it's really fun to, like, make sure we get down to the absolute minutia of, like, the meaning of a word. And, that was quite annoying. And Justin just sitting there trying to, like, hold his head in from melting. And so that's where Aaron's, like, piece of that comes from. In terms of editing each other, I wouldn't actually even know what it means to edit someone like a sibling. You mean like edit
yourself? Like edit like go like, well, I could tell Aaron this, but it might hurt his feelings or slow things down, so I'm just going to keep this shit to myself.
Are you talking about the actual editing process of a film?
No. Like you're like conversationally. Like say you're working on a scene and you find Justin's being an asshole, or Justin is doing something that that you don't necessarily agree with, or whatever, just whatever. And
I mean,
but
if you're asking if I've ever held my tongue, yes.
Yeah.
For sure, of course. I'm a human being. Yeah, for sure.
but do you think it's more siblingy or more friendy?
I don't know. I don't know. I'm not sure.
Because I think you guys have like a crazy relationship, being such entwined business partners and product partners, on top of being friends. And I just wonder where that falls on the spectrum of couplehood. I'm wondering about you guys as a couple.
I guess our dynamic at this point would probably, if you like listed off all the characteristics and put them in a category of like friend versus family, it'd probably fall more under family. But that's it's a hard distinction to make. I mean, I'd probably say that about, anyone you're close friends with, it becomes like family, right? Mm-hmm. I think. I don't know. It's too bad I can't say because I just wrote a movie about brothers.
Well, do you guys have siblings? Do you have siblings, Justin and Aaron?
Yeah, we both do.
You both do.
Yeah, we both have siblings. But I don't think they're
different, though.
They're different, and they're not quite as close in age as Justin and Aaron are in the movie.
I think that's kind of the big thing is that yes, we grew up together. Us and our siblings grew up together. But, we didn't go into the same endeavor together. My sister's 4 years older than me, which means I never, went to school with her or anything like that, And the same thing with Justin, basically.
Yeah. I'll tell you something funny, though, about the quote you were talking about at the beginning of the movie.
Yeah.
That was always on the first page of the script. And both of those quotes and one more. And the intention is just kind of a tool of screenwriting to kind of set up the tone straight out the gate so people know what they're getting into. And I had made up that quote and attributed it to Oscar Wilde. Credible. It really sounded like that. And everyone just bought it. And then Aaron's like, I really want to put it in the movie. I was like, you totally made up that quote. And then Aaron came up with the idea of just making it unknown. And it's really clever. But
I actually, one of my questions was if that was just a Justin quote. You just made it anonymous to sound cool, which you did.
So
we're going to make a T-shirt. T-shirts, and I'm actually been spending the last 2 weeks sewing needle points versions of that quote for people's walls.
I love it.
The merchandising on this is going to be really, really gangbusters.
Well, if you if you are making needle point
Smiling
stuff,
Dave fanny pack.
Oh yes, with the hole in the back.
We know the fanny pack's coming back right after this. That's also one of the quotes on another one of the shirts.
Huh.
Oh man, shit. Sorry, I was thinking about the ability to acquire a Smiling Dave fanny pack. I'm sorry. I would probably rock that. I could see some use for that.
Honestly, if you want it, send me an email and give me your address, and I will Google the nearest thrift store.
All right, I want to pivot a little bit on a question because we were talking for a little bit about tone and kind of the way that you guys are constructing things. One of the conversations that Lisa and I were having before we kind of sat down to call you guys today was, Resolution doesn't use really any music at all. And then Spring, you guys bring a score to it, and there is
Jimmy Laval.
Yeah, there's some beautiful sounds to it, but then you come to The Endless, and it very prominently features like a sort of a folk song in the House of the Rising Sun. And I was wondering if you could speak to a little bit about, kind of what prompted you to include that song. Like I see it thematically relevant, but why now? And why did you choose to layer that so much through the movie? Because it's everywhere.
Yeah. Well, kind of taking it back again, the question that Resolution has no music, for two reasons. One is, but the biggest reason is there's a story reason why, and there's sort of, not everyone gets this, but the intent is that by the end you realize everything you've been seeing is point of view. So why would there be music? And it's, if you're trying to creep people out and make them feel uneasy, something as simple as not putting music, it's very effective.
Yeah.
And on top of all of that, if you only have $20,000 to make a film, for the love of God, don't put in music unless you have a friend who's an amazing musician who wants to do you a huge favor. Because, you know, you pay the price for a really good score. There's no way around it. And then with Spring, we started collaborating with Jimmy LaValle, who's a brilliant genius and literally one of the best composers on the planet. And it came to Spring, we wanted to feature his music. And I'm sorry, when it came to The Endless, we wanted to feature his music and use it more. And then in terms of like why we used House of the Rising Sun, when I was writing it, I knew I wanted there to be a sort of dark song that everyone knows. Like for example, but something like Hotel California, where it's like everyone knows that song if you really listen to it, it's really creepy. Something like that.
Right.
Now that would be extraordinarily expensive, but it just happened to turn out that House of the Rising Sun has all of those qualities, but it's also, technically it's public domain because it's a really old folk song. The lyrics are.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and what's funny about that is, it just happens to be, the lyrics happen to be public domain, but the instrumentation is not.
Mm-hmm.
So, which means, like, you can't make a song that actually sounds like it, but you can sing it as long as it doesn't sound like the actual Animals version of the song or the Dylan version. And so, you know, that's why what we're singing sounds so weird. That's why, like, we're just singing like a weird version of it. But what's also kind of cool about it, one of the reasons we picked it is House of the Rising Sun is about someone, I believe, warning a sibling not to repeat the same mistakes they made at the House of the Rising Sun.
Exactly.
So that's like the most apropos song possible.
Yeah, that's perfect. Okay. Who does the like? There's a cover of it in the credits. Who put that together?
That was a collaboration between Emily Zuzik, who's done all of our vocals for all of our songs, I believe. I could be wrong on that. But for every song that we have in Spring and The Endless,
mm-hmm.
and Jimmy.
It's fucking gorgeous. I sat down, I rewatched The Endless last night so that I could kind of have it fresh in my head for our conversation, and I sat and listened to the entire credits run of that song. It's beautiful. I don't know. I really like that song, the way that they put it together for that.
Yeah, that woman's amazing. She can do anything. We were really blown away when we got that. It wasn't supposed to be an end credit song. It was just supposed to be the weird, creepy version playing from the tiny little loop. From the record player. It was supposed to be that, and then we heard it, we're like, oh, that's amazing, use that for end credits. Also, she's so diverse. She did, if you listen carefully in the background of the scene in Spring where Evan and Louise meet at the bar for the first time, mm-hmm. There's this really great song playing in the background that is done in the style of like a Portishead or Morcheeba song, mm-hmm. and she's doing the vocals on that.
Oh,
and
shit.
It sounds like a Morcheeba or Portishead song. It's very diverse. It's pretty cool.
And then actually, if you listen to there's a scene in the lake in The Endless. Mm-hmm. At the very, very end of it, it has this gigantic drone shot where you're seeing something kind of crazy. Mm-hmm. If you listen to that moment, you can hear like a woman's voice swelling, just like a ooh kind of sound. That's her again.
Man, the drone shot of the overhead of the lake and the thing that you see when that happens, I was like, oh, this is amazing. It was one of those moments where I just fucking love what I was seeing, man. That was a great moment in the movie.
Not just amazing, but visually pretty stunning. Stunning.
Yeah, that's really cool. That's a shot that was worked on heavily by this guy named Michael Matzer. And I think I did the final composite on it, but 90% of it was him.
Very cool.
Wait! Before we pivot away from music stuff, there is a really sweet organ lick that goes. It's a transition scene where they go back to around the campfire, and Hal is presumably playing the organ, but it's just a beautiful thing. Whose music is that? Is that Jimmy LaValle putting something together for you guys for that?
Dude, that's Jimmy being sarcastic. Literally, we had that, and it was like an orchestration. It was basically like, it sounded exactly like that, but it was House of the Rising Sun. That was our temp music.
Right.
And we were like, hey, it can't be House of the Rising Sun. We just want something with the same mood. and he did it, and we're like, hey, I'm sorry, it's weird, it's just like not energetic enough. That kind of the other one had like more of an energy to it, maybe just because everyone knew the song or something. And so if you listen to it, it's just him being like, just like hitting notes just to like be like, yeah, fuck you, I'll make it energetic. It's like so great. And it's like really fun. It's really awesome. But you can also see he's like, yeah, I get you guys. And he just like, just nails it.
I am impressed very much by your ability to work in such a close partnership, especially because I'm the person who's like, I'm thinking, don't look at me, So the fact that you guys can work so closely and intimately, it just blows my mind. It's crazy to me. So would you consider yourselves like extroverted people, and that's what allows you guys to work so closely? And is there any part of your creative process that has to be done separately?
Yeah. This is Aaron. I personally, I think I'm extroverted to a fault. So yes. I prefer that no one's like watching over my shoulder for the 4 to 12 weeks that we're doing visual effects. That would be really awful if he was just in the room with me. Mm-hmm. That would just be awful. And it has nothing to do with anything except for like, you fall down 1,000 times before you actually get the right thing. But that said, that's not like I do it in a vacuum. There's always reviews and stuff like that. But
right.
But that's just a long, lonely process.
And this is Justin. I can't write with people around like at all. I can't even write when we're like on the road. I've tried. It's like terrible. I mean, like the writing's terrible. It's weird. I just have to like wake up, have caffeine, sit at the table we're sitting at now, and just like make myself do it. But I can't really like have people around. I don't know why that is. I think it's good to get used to doing something one way, and it would take a lot of work to do it another way. And then, in terms of extrovert, introvert, I think I swing wildly between the two of them.
Mm-hmm. I don't know. It's, the writing process to me is weird because, I write for Film School Rejects, and when I sit down to put something together, like I put earplugs in, and I put Bose noise canceling headphones over the earplugs in my ears, and so I have to go into my own little cocoon because it's so easy for me to lose focus, to get distracted and caught up in because it's hard to put things out there that are interesting, at least for me. I don't know. I mean, it's hard to foster that creative process when you're all up inside your head all the time, and then things kind of distract you away from sort of, I guess, what you're trying to focus on or what you're trying to do.
Yeah. I'm actually really open to distractions. Unfortunately, I found that it's actually sitting down and focusing on one thing for about 4 hours is. Let me just. I'll just say it's not part of my process. I've got to build in standing up and getting a glass of water every 10 minutes or something. It's just I can't do it. I would be very, 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 very proud of myself if I did. But I just find that I find myself more engaged in something when I don't have to grind on it.
Right.
Mm-hmm. There is a certain amount of superstition when it comes to the creative process and where is that next idea going to come from? And do you guys have a ritual or something when you guys are hammering out a new idea, or is everything very fluid?
And this is going to be a really cliche answer, but with writing specifically, I literally don't know where any of it comes from. Mm-hmm. And I don't have a ritual I do or anything besides wake up, force myself to work, don't want to, drink lots of caffeine, keep going, don't want to. And then at the end of the day, hopefully something happened that you're proud of. But the weird thing is, I think writing is one of those things where it's I might be able to point to one piece of inspiration that maybe sparked the foundation of the idea, but that ultimately I genuinely do not know where it's coming from at all.
And then
I couldn't at the start of the writing day that it was going to go there, that it was going to happen. You just do, and it happens, and clearly there's some part of one's brain you can't access until you start writing down words and linking one to the next. Yeah. And it's a beautiful, magical thing, but it's kind of scary at the same time too, because you can't tell anyone like how it's happening or where it's coming from, and you don't know exactly what's going to happen. So.
And then, do you give Aaron finished scripts, or is he every step of the way in your writing process?
I basically develop. When he's pretty happy with it, he'll send it my way. I'll spend way too long thinking about it. I'll give a few notes, whatever. It's very rare, if ever, that he'll send me something that I'm like, hey, man, you're going to have to, like, get out the backhoe and really, really redo this, because if he thinks it's ready to send to me, it's probably something that I'm going to like, because we wouldn't be working together otherwise. And so yeah, but I'll just develop. We ping it back and forth. That's the answer, right?
Yeah. The Endless was kind of unique in that Aaron was in the room when the idea popped into my head, and I ran it past him. And then since he was in it, I would, like, in the process, write him and ask him questions about, like, hey, what kind of knot can you tie?
Yeah.
Like stuff like that. And
that was the one time when we banged out in the room.
Yeah.
An outline.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And also to there was other stuff, weird stuff in the process of writing the Endless, where it was like we needed to figure out what was happening with cult member Dave and who he was and all that kind of stuff. And like right then, Dave sent me this picture of him looking like a maniac on the set of 68 Kill with a huge smile. Smiling Dave was born.
Well, I can't wait for my Smiling Dave's T-shirt.
I'm not joking. That's not a romantic. That literally happened. That was.
Awesome.
I've had a couple of conversations with Dave at this point. Yeah, I 100% believe that happened. Yeah, a lot of pictures from that guy.
I like the idea that he's now going to know that if he didn't send that picture, he might have had lines. Dave, if you're listening,
well, yeah. Okay, so the Endless, it's going to Tribeca. Like, I mean, this is sort of like a return, like a triumphal return for you guys. You're in the narrative competition this time. Like, are you guys shitting bricks right now? Like, fuck, nobody's seen our movie and it's gonna go to Tribeca. Or do you feel like you're going home, the conquering heroes, returning back to where you started out at with Resolution?
It's kind of both. I mean, it's kind of home, but all of the bigger film festivals I'm not joking, we're just kind of like, every time we make a movie, we're not the type of filmmakers yet that it's just the expectation that we're going to get in. We're not, not quite there. So, I mean, I think we're just really relieved that a third movie got into one of these big film festivals. And it does make it more special that it's kind of like the home one. But again, we always thought it was like, people have this assumption that there's so much nepotism in film festivals. You'd be lying to say there's none, but it does not mean you're going to get it.
No,
at all. It just means that the first person that watched it maybe wasn't the intern, but maybe
they didn't have to pick it out of the garbage this time to take a look at it.
Yeah, exactly. So it's more just like, it was a huge relief to just be like, okay, we didn't take a step backwards on this third one, and that, and also it felt like a progression. The work itself felt like a progression. Like, we had kind of put together what we do the best we can do, and it's better than the last two movies, and that its premiering in competition was big on a lot of levels. But to have a genre film in competition is it's a really neat thing. It doesn't happen very often.
No, it doesn't. That stands out.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. I mean, it's nice to have. It's sort of like an acknowledgement of the dramatic merits of the piece alongside the fun genre stuff. So yeah, it's pretty cool.
Are you guys sweating whether you win or not, or is the victory just you're there?
The thing about being in competition at a film festival is that The thing is, when you go, especially your premiere at a big film festival, the thing you're most worried about is distribution. And the thing is, like, if you won, that is amazing. That is so cool. That's a huge accomplishment. People are going to remember a lot more if you got distribution or not. It's a bigger thing. It'd be cool though. Yeah, it'd be cool. Yeah. We've been in competition at lots of kind of smaller regional festivals and stuff like that. And, you know, we never win, and it's funny because you kind of get maybe like an extra night in a hotel, and that's rad. But then you got to go to the award ceremony and lose, and you didn't think you cared, and then you lose. Yeah, you're like, oh, that's great. We always lose.
But you guys, your film Spring was called one of the best horror films of the decade by Guillermo del Toro. So I think that you guys win for life, and you should never unpin that tweet because that is the shit.
Yeah, that came out of absolute nowhere. It just woke up one morning and I guess he just watched it just then or the previous night, and he was going nuts over it, and it was like the movie was released all over again. It was crazy.
Well, I hope you get that tweet tattooed to your face.
I genuinely, it sounds kind of dumb to say this because when we were trying to release Spring, we were just like trying to get a little bit of social media buzz, or like, you know, see if some celebrities would come to the screening and, you know, or whatever we could do. And ultimately, like, it didn't really seem to make any difference. Really, no one was like, oh, I came because this person said that or this person was there. And so we're like, yeah, maybe the whole like power of social media thing is like slightly bullshit. And like slightly, like obviously it's very powerful. We all know that. That's an old conversation that's been done since 2010. But then when Guillermo del Toro just like suddenly decides to love on your movie, and you get that kind of like this hefty response that now everybody I know knows that Guillermo del Toro said that. and that's like, that's one of those things where you're like, oh, no, that's a huge deal. It just kind of depends who and when.
So we know from our first interview that you guys are dudes with irons in the fire. You always have lots of plates spinning. And the last time we talked, you were talking about your Aleister Crowley Beast. And now it is an entry on IMDb. And its status right now is unknown. So we're wondering how that's coming along and any other projects you guys have working on. The secret ones first, please.
Yeah, I mean, we are always, we genuinely, I mean, I think 90% of the work we do is developing new material. That also means that 90% of the work we do, we don't get paid for it. And we just come up with a lot, constantly writing, constantly coming up with pitches, constantly pitching, constantly memorizing pitches, constantly doing all of this stuff. We're very grateful to have those opportunities. It's a lot, though, an all-consuming 7 days a week, 14 hours a day thing. And then with the Aleister Crowley feature in particular, it's not it won't be a feature. It could end up in some form. We're still developing it. A feature isn't very likely. And then other stuff, I don't know. What should we use?
We got like a billion different things. We just don't know what's like, hey, we should start talking about it or not, you know? Like, it's all looking really good. But basically, we can give you the broad strokes of, we have, 4 TV show possibilities that are all very Moorhead and Benson-y, I guess you could say, and 3 features. And like right now we're kind of bracing to see how the Endless does, and then and seeing what we can, if anything, can skyrocket off of that.
That is exciting. Good stuff.
Yeah, we're pretty much ready to do them. Luckily, there's 2 of us.
That wasn't as scoopy as I wanted, but I guess it's all I'll get. So thank you.
Yeah,
Darren, what do you got? Wait. Oh, go ahead.
No. We went off to make the Endless, and up until up till this very moment, really, it's all just been the Endless. That's pretty much it. It's all just stuff for this movie. and you know, we would pepper in work with our other projects as well to make sure that they're still moving. And now the Endless is about to be over. And so it's kind of one of those things where it's like, if none of these things goes, we're going to be making another movie just like the Endless, you know, like, and we're going to, we'll wait a little bit, but not as long as between Spring and the Endless again. We'll just go make another one.
Mm-hmm. Is filmmaking your crack? Do you got any filmmaking on you?
Shit. Yeah, dude, I got a big old trench coat and I go down alleyways selling it.
No, so Darren, what do you got?
I would just like to know, so with my experience with watching The Endless, immediately after I watched it, it's one of those films that I felt like, well, I have to talk to someone about this movie. But unfortunately, there's only like one or two people that I can talk to this about this film in it, but it's one that you just want to go and spread the gospel about. And so I just want to know, like, with your busy schedules and you both working on The Endless up until this point, have you had time to watch a movie that if I haven't seen it, I need to see it, whether it be a new release or old release?
Hell yeah. Trainspotting 2, man.
Yeah, you should see Trainspotting 2.
Okay.
I don't know if you guys have seen it.
Not yet.
No, I haven't seen it, yeah.
Don't think about the original Trainspotting. The reviews are fine, they're good, it's certified fresh. But I think like a lot of people have kind of missed the mark on it, of it kind of putting in the context of like, is it going to recapture the exact thing that Trainspotting 1 does?
Right.
The thing is, it doesn't, but that's not a bad thing. It captures something else on an equally really awesome level. And
is there any vomiting in it?
What's that?
Is there any vomiting in that movie? In the Trainspotting 2?
Hell yeah.
Ugh.
Yeah, there is actually.
No.
Yeah. There's maybe the most memorable vomiting scene I can, like right when it happened, we both looked at each other, we're like, that was so particular.
Oh, man.
No, you're going to like it.
No, I'm not a fan of the vomiting scenes. I didn't ask because I'm really looking for films with vomit. I actively avoid vomiting films. Never put vomit in any of your films. That's why we interview directors, so I can specifically tell them not to put vomit in their movies because they're scary.
There's dry heaving in the end, and that's about it.
Yeah, so I appreciate it.
But Trainspotting 2 has this like very particular special set of circumstances where it's a screenwriter who wrote a very personal script, and it's one of the world's best living directors, Danny Boyle, firing on all cylinders with apparently full control over everything. The cinematographer, what's his name?
Geez, come back to me.
The cinematographer's just killing it on every level. There's There's so much neat stuff in that movie. The editing is incredible. The music's incredible. Yeah, I would say just see it, but don't make the mistake of having the expectation of it being Trainspotting 1. It's equally good. It's very different. But it does also say something very meaningful about life.
All right. Thank you for the recommendation.
All right. What else you got?
I've been hearing The Lost City of Z is amazing. Came out yesterday.
Wait, really?
Yeah, apparently it's like absolutely stunning.
What was the name of the movie? It broke up.
The Lost City of Z, with Charlie Hunnam.
Yeah, those guys went out in the middle of fucking nowhere and didn't eat for like 3 months or some shit. I was watching an interview with them where they were talking about how they would judge each other for sneaking off to eat apples. Holy shit.
Okay, by the way, it's Anthony Dodd Mansell, and yes, I tried to Google it, but there's not a good enough internet, and I remembered it before Google showed me.
Full credit on remembering that name.
I just want you guys to know that.
Sure. The official record will state that he did not consult Google.
Well, you can't lie on a podcast. That's the rule. So, yeah.
That's right.
Oh,
this is a sacred space.
Yeah. It is kind of churchy. All right, so I guess, one of the things that I like to ask everybody in these interviews to kind of close out the conversation is, so you've made 3 movies now. You're going back to Tribeca. You're hopefully have debuted to, like I said, a standing ovation on Friday night. But like, what's your proudest moment? What's the single thing that you look back at right now in your career that like you wake up and you say, this is why I do it. This is what makes me happy to be a filmmaker?
Oh, damn. Heavy, dude. Jeez, give us a warning shot before that.
No, I can't. That's the rules, because I got to catch you guys on the spot. If you overthink it, maybe it's not personal. Like, let's get real. Let's get into it.
You know, the one that came to mind immediately, so I guess I'll have to latch on to it, was not the call when we got into Tribeca, but the first call is from Billy Goldberg, who's like an associate programmer there. And he just called us up and was like, hey, is the world premiere still available? Because I like it.
Damn.
But I'm a really, really low on the totem pole kind of guy, so it's going to be like a fight for me, but I would like to try. And that was enough for us to like be like, holy crap, we actually made a movie that people care about. Because before it was just an experimental, weird thing that... Experimental is not the right word, but you know what I mean. Like, we were making a movie that as 100% honest, not trying to pander to anything, just making like a movie we really wanted to make. And we had no idea how it would be received. And the fact that like Tribeca even took notice was an extraordinarily big deal.
All right. That's a good answer. I like that answer. We get one answer from the two of you, or is there a second person, second moment?
I mean, I can think of several moments. I don't think there's like one in particular, but since Aaron went way back, I'll try to stay as recent as possible. I don't know. We had a little friends and family screening of The Endless, and there were several people who we know to be honest to us to a point that can be hurtful and offensive. And
I'm taking that's from the family side.
Yeah, and people that I wouldn't describe as particularly emotional, become really emotional watching The Endless and say they kept thinking about it. That was pretty cool. That was a big accomplishment.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
That's a good answer. I love that answer. That's beautiful.
No wrong answers when it comes to gratitude for what you do. And we feel gratitude for the amazing movies that you make and the stories that you tell. So thank you so much.
Yeah. Yeah.
Thank you.
I get a rap around these parts for just like liking to like things. And I do like to like things. I look for the things that I like, and I like the things that I like, and it's a lot of fucking liking. But like, no shit, guys, Spring is a special movie to me. It is really beautiful. I have thought a lot about it. And to be honest, I feel very similarly about The Endless. I think that there's just something about what you guys do, and you put so much personal thought out into the world for people to take in that it's hard for me not to see it as this sort of very honest thing. And I think that that's exceptionally rare. And I think that it's very engaging in the way that you go about it. And I think that you guys are just really, really brilliant at doing that and being so genuine. So honestly, thank you for giving me movies to think about. And I saved my gushing for the end. I'm sorry. I tried to keep it in until after we were done recording. I couldn't do it. Fuck. I messed up. But you guys are cool. I like what you do.
Thank you.
Thanks, man. Thank you.
So let's see, where can people find you out in the social medias?
Very active on all of them. I wouldn't try Facebook because it's kind of become a bit of a graveyard for friend requests kind of thing. But I would say like Twitter, I'm at Aaron Moorhead. He's at Justin H. Benson. Instagram, I'm at Aaron Moorhead. He's at Justin_Benson. Snapchat, you will not find either of us.
Darn.
Until we get our heads out of our asses and realize that we should do it. But it's just, right now, I just don't think my everyday life is worth it enough yet. So
It's for children. You should not be on Snapchat. That's my official stance. Darren has just
you
joined.
can find us on Tumblr, just retweeting a bunch of makeup secrets.
Ooh, nice.
Retumbling. God, I already messed it up. Oh my God, I'm so old.
I don't know Snapchat. I don't know anything
Actually,
about it.
have you guys seen this thing that's going around of people like putting on like horror movies or movies on TV, but like pointing their Snapchat filters at them, and like they're just like popping into like goofy faces, like but watching No Country for Old Men. It's really amazing.
I have not seen that at all.
It's pretty good. It's I would say, you know, obviously we're in this deep catastrophic decline of culture, but that's the pinnacle of it. That's the best part.
Well, the future is bright, right? We've got Snapchat filters for horror movies where people get adorbs' faces put on them. Fuck. Things are going great. Well, we should have ended on the note about how you were really pleased that your family like really got you and there was a lot of personal validation, because now I'm a little bit bummed out. But okay. That's where we are. And that's America, folks. Thanks for coming out. But no, thank you guys for coming out. I always love having a chance to chit-chat with you guys. And you guys are so generous with your time. So thanks for being fucking awesome and for doing this. We really appreciate it.
Love doing it, man. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you guys for all your support.
All right, have a beautiful day.
Yay.
So there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. Justin Benson and Aaron Moorhead.
We hope you can tell the difference between their voices. It was a little touch and go there. You have to use context clues.
Justin was the Justin-y one, and Aaron was the Aaron-y one.
Yeah. Justin was the writery one, and Aaron was the bossy Magoo.
Oh.
In a good way. In a good way.
Yeah. Well, thank you both again, Justin and Aaron, for coming back to the podcast. Thank you, Billy, for setting that up. All of our listeners, we hope you enjoyed that. Listen, again, if you haven't already checked out Resolution, do so, and also Spring. Is Spring still, or either of those films still streaming on?
Resolution is 100% right now on Shudder, which if you don't have, you should get. It's a good fucking service. And then Spring, I'm pretty sure, is still on Amazon Prime.
Okay. Definitely check those two films out, and then when The Endless comes out, go out and support that as well.
Yeah.
Because it's good.
It is.
No, it is really good.
We wouldn't ask you to support something shitty.
And we can't talk about it with you until you've seen it. And
that's
so
right. There's secrets.
Oh my God, you guys need to see this movie so we can say things about it.
Yeah, we are all about discussion here at ITMOD, and so we need to talk. So go watch the movie so we can talk. Billy, tell the people where they can find you.
You can find me on the Twitters at WBDAS and writing at Film School Rejects. Wife Dork.
You can find me on Twitter, Instagram, and Letterboxd at Sidewalk Siren.
You can also find Brian Young, the Turtle Dork, at the Turtle Dork on Twitter, at the Turtle Dork 1 on Instagram, and Brian William Young on Facebook. Mouth Dork, Brad Gullickson, is at Mouth Dork on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, Letterboxd, and Untapped.
And in my heart.
Yeah, and also at work and not here. And he was such a sad Charlie Brown walking out the door. Oh, that was mean. I shouldn't have said that.
That's okay. He won't listen.
And Darren Swift, the Disco Dork, on all social medias. That's going to do it for us. Thank you all for listening. And until next time.